Good afternoon, everyone. So I think I have the first session after lunch. So my pleasure is to keep you guys all awake. And if I see anybody napping, right, I'll just point at you. And please make sure nobody naps in my session. I try to keep it as informative as possible. So from last night and from today, I understand that the forum is mostly of finance executives and people looking at the industry from outside in, right? So I think I'll try to give a little bit of perspective from someone that has been in this industry actually for a long time, even though I might not seem that old. I'm actually quite old. So I basically started in the DC industry in 2007. So that's about maybe 15 years ago or so. And prior to that, I was in the telco. So the past 15 years, I've seen a lot of data center movement, right, and evolution over the years. So now, of course, in the past, we have spoke about like telco DCs, cloud DCs. The latest buzz is, of course, AI DCs, right? So I'll try to, like what the MC said, I'll try to demystify a little bit and then talk a little bit about what I think of the ecosystem, right? I also like to address a little bit on the panel in the morning. I found that really very interesting in some of the topics. Obviously, from someone from the industry, I look at P&L, but to hear the policy part of it, I think is quite intriguing. And I also like to share a little bit about what the industry view is. So I think that might be pretty interesting for you guys as well, right? So my slides aren't really that technical. So first slide is, well, not this one. First slide is actually this one. Yeah. So what is AIDC, right? So I started, well, I didn't really do it. Stacy down there did this for me, which is put some perspectives of what is the AIDC. I think we keep talking about AIDC. What's inside? Is it this guy? Do you see Tony Stark in the data center? Well, I mean, could be, maybe not. Do you see robots, working on the data center? Is that an AIDC with robots fitting out the data center? What do you expect to see, right? Because we are right at the cusp of seeing what the AIDC is. And no, I don't think anyone in this audience have actually been inside the AIDC. So for me, of course, as you know, YTL, we are building an AIDC, but I was also fortunate enough to came, prior to YTL, I was also with a hyperscaler. So I've seen some of this before, and maybe I can share that with you in the next slide, right? So some of it might be a bit disappointing, right? So what is really inside AIDC is not that sexy. So if you don't see Tony Stark or whatever, right? You see this stuff that engineers love. So people like me love to see this stuff because to me, it's very high tech. And I'll come back to the point later. What you see on the left is what you call manifolds. So because of the advent of AIDC, what's happening right now is that the density has reached proportions that I've never seen before. I think I was talking to Mahathir just now, and we were saying that when we first started in this industry, right, we were probably looking at like 1.5 kilowatts per rack, right? And then I was the engineer sort of patching the cables and stuff like that. Soon we evolved to what it is maybe last year, which is 8 to 10 or maybe 15 kilowatts per rack. That's what we're talking about. What are we looking at today? We are looking at something close to 120 to 130 kilowatts per rack to fit the latest NVIDIA chips that everybody's talking about, which is coming out anytime soon, right? Which we don't know when, but soon. So what does this mean to the industry? Is that power and cooling becomes essential, right? Because essentially you have to power the stuff, but powering the stuff is only one part of the equation. The other part is that you have to cool it. So just to add some anecdotal, you can Google this part. Apparently 1 kilowatts of power is like a hair dryer. Somebody told me that, but well, yeah, I think it's true. 1 kilowatts is one hair dryer. Can you imagine 120 kilowatts and having 120 hair dryers on at the same time? I can't imagine. If I put a hair dryer hot, I feel very uncomfortable. I don't know how you guys will feel, but essentially, that is the problem that we have today. How to solve it? Liquid cooling. Why does liquid cooling help? It's because air is not a good conductor of cooling, right? So air is a bad conductor. What the industry has come out with, essentially putting liquid cooling to the racks, to the chips. And that's what you see here. So you see things like, the manifolds, the connectors, and everything going to the rack. So what this means is that you're putting the liquids, which tend to be at the back end, all the way to the racks, right? Again, I'm an engineer, right? So I'm totally fascinated. Somebody was asking me over lunch, what does this all mean in terms of complexity and SLA? It's a paradigm shift to our industry. When you have a fan wall that's way back, your SLA stops at the fan wall because all you're responsible for is the cold air out. Now you're putting from the CDUs, which is what we call the condenser unit, you have pipes all the way going to your racks. Where does the SLA stop, right? What if you have leaks in your data center? Who is responsible for that? Is that responsible for the hyperscaler or is it responsible for operator? What are you actually accountable for? And how do you actually fix it? Is this your traditional sort of aircon guy, the guy that fixes cooling? Or is it someone that has to understand this industry and how to do it completely sort of in the middle of the night when something happens, right? So my point is that the industry has changed, and I want to move this conversation a little bit forward to the conversation in the morning, right? When I think I hear, sorry, a little bit out of topic, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, of how data centers didn't create jobs. I think that was what I heard. And the second is that the jobs are very low end, right? So that was the main thing that came to mind. And the engineer in me kicked in, right? I'm like, I got to say something about this at this forum. And the complexity in such a system is not small. This is what I want to put. The investment is big, that one we know, we saw all the numbers. But what is needed from a engineering and a maintenance operations perspective cannot be denied as well. We're going to launch our ORDC soon. And for us, it's getting the skilled individuals able to operate, maintain, and do whatever you need to do on complex electrical and mechanical systems. And that is where the complexity is. And these people, if you think that they are lowly paid and lowly skilled, then you can't be further from the truth, right? And that's my point, okay? So I sort of moved a little bit outside of topic, right? I think some of the rest of slides were prepared before I wanted to sort of talk about this point. And some of these slides are pretty obvious and talked about already by many people in this morning. So I'll probably just run through it very quickly, right? This slide is essentially saying that opportunity is big. I think we all know that. This puts into perspective of how things are over the last few years, right? So I think I spoke to several of you before. I came actually from Singapore. And actually a lot of folks were, when I joined YTL, right? I mean, one of the common refrain was that, hey, why you work in Singapore DC for so many years, right? Or Asia Pac DC. Why do you work for a Malaysian company? And this was, I believe, was someone from the Singapore government, because I was talking to them about moratorium and stuff like that. So I said, hey, hello, you do moratorium, I know my job. So got to come to Malaysia, right? So that was my refrain. And they're like, yeah, that's true. But the question is that, which I also was talking to the folks in the Singapore government, right, is that is something that you have to be a bit careful about. And I was speaking about that during lunch as well. Because when the data center industry moves, let's say when you're moving the data center and my customers are moving up, it's not just the servers that move. Your ecosystem moves along with it. So I was speaking to a journalist maybe about a couple months ago, and she was totally fascinated when I was telling her about a small engineering company setting up shop in Kulai. I was talking to her about all about YTL, blah, blah, blah. But the point that she was going at is that, oh, why is this engineering company setting up shop in Kulai? So I said, no choice, SLA. The guy has to be based in Kulai because I need him to be there within 1 hour. He needs to have skilled people, technicians, engineers to service me. So similar story last week when I was in the data center convention in Singapore, right? We had this big, everybody was talking about cooling, with this big manifolds and big CDUs and everything, right? First question, all the operators were asking the suppliers, do you have support? Do you have engineering support? Do you have an office in Malaysia, right? And if no, then we'll just go to the next guy. So that's how we are evaluating our suppliers. So that's what from one perspective. The other perspective, in terms of manpower, is our customers. So when we do a data center, we also reserve space for our customers' office as well. How does this work? It's because the customers, I'm looking at mechanical, electrical, plumbing, MEP, they are looking at much more value at basically the IT layer, platform layer and above. And that is where the skilled manpower and the ecosystem comes about. And my argument is that when you have something like the infrastructure moving up, you have a pullover effect to the other parts of the ecosystem as well. Again, I don't have numbers to justify it. I'm not the economist. I'll leave that to the smarter people in the room. Okay? Okay. So, again, we all know this story is booming, blah, blah, blah. Okay? I won't go into any of this. What is the other question that was posed to me? What is the ecosystem needed? Things like land, power, regulatory framework, skilled workforce. I think in Malaysia, we have most of this in place. Maybe my only gripe is that very difficult to hire people. That was my only gripe. Every time I hire people, they get pushed by a competitor. Yeah, Mahathir, don't hire my people. So, and it's a vicious cycle. So I always talk to all my competitors are my friends. Like, hey, go and hire from outside, hire from other state. Don't hire from each other. We're killing ourselves. But that's what's happening. There's a lack of skilled manpower to support us right now in the industry. And that is the part that is holding me back. I remember we launched the first DC in May. And at some point, my operations director told me, hey, Wyman, hey, we're supposed to run shift very soon, no? Hey, the whole shift disappeared. Oh, cannot cope. I'm like, oh, seriously? How to cope? Yeah, I asked the operations director to, go sit down there and do. But that's not the point, right? The point is that this is real life anecdotes, and I hope it'll be interesting to you guys looking from an industry perspective. I would just wanted to maybe do a little bit of pitch since I got maybe a few more minutes. So from YTL perspective, this is what we see. We are, of course, looking at things like, as what we mentioned in the morning, right? We're looking at things like sustainability. We're building a solar farm. We're looking at partnerships with the chips. I think the NVIDIA partnership has been well known in the industry. The key differentiation for us is basically looking at is that we have an integrated data center solution. So from the perspective of building a data center, from acquiring the land and construction on MEP, that is also done pretty much in-house. So that is pretty much our differentiation in the market, which makes securing the DC components like power and water network essential to how we operate. So this is a little bit of a pitch. And this is what we're doing today. I think I'll be one of these days when our AIDC is ready. We'd love to have you guys over to take a look. But essentially, this is what we're building. We're building a 600 megawatt DC development, about 200 acres with about 1,400 acres of solar farm surrounding it. This is in Kulai, right? And this is, again, what I mentioned earlier. The first phase has already gone live. in May. So we have live customers. Otherwise, I won't be standing here talking to you guys. We have the park, and surrounding the DC park will be our solar farm. So the idea is that the solar farm would be able to support the DC park, at least during the day. We haven't put in any battery solutions yet. At this point, it's meant to power the park during daylight hours. So this is the AI data center. I talked a lot about liquid cooling, right? But from an engineering perspective, we're putting in the GB200s, which is the latest and greatest chips coming out. And this would be up to 130 kilowatts per rack density. So this, we think, will be sort of the latest and greatest technology available in the market and leading edge. Right. So I think this is it. Please don't hold me to this picture. Like I said in my first slide, it is not as sexy as you think it is. So the building will probably look like any building. So it won't look as like this, right? But I just wanted to showcase a little bit of what our views are and what we think of the market. So if I digress a little bit, please forgive me. But I just wanted to think that it might be a bit more thought-provoking after lunch to hear from an industry perspective of what we think. Yeah. So I think after this, I'll pass it to Berhad, who has agreed to everything I said. Right. Thank you very much.